at the African Child. We're looking at inspiring and empowering African entrepreneurs. Today's discussion I'm hosting two great minds from Africa. I'm not going to introduce them. Let them introduce themselves. Yes, Didiza, Amanda.
All right, what's up, everybody? My name is Amanda Didiza. I'm an entrepreneur and I'm from South Africa. I think I'll park it there. Maybe the rest will be unveiled during the course of the conversation.
All right. My good friend.
Hello, everybody. I am Justice Harold. I'm also a tech entrepreneur. I'm from Zimbabwe. You'll hear my story throughout the conversation.
All right. It's an amazing journey for entrepreneurs, but it's very hard. And one of the things entrepreneurs go through is realizing who they are. And today I want us to look at the power of personal strength. And as a subject, some of the questions I'll ask later is, does it matter to know that you need to recognize your personal strength? In that same line, before you come through, I have some statistics I've found out that only 1 in 3 people can clearly identify their top 3 strengths. And yet, when you look at leaders who focus on these strengths, they have been able to increase their profits by over 29%. And also, they have increased 7% in terms of customer engagement. And when it comes to employment engagement and all that, it has been increased to 15%. To generalize that, when you know your personal strength, there is possibilities of increasing your workflow and output. So, in the same line, Didiza, and starting with you, does it matter?
Personal strength? Oh,
Yeah.
yes, definitely. Definitely. But I think one thing that we need to kind of have as a point of departure, Frank, is that personal strength is divided into a number of things. You can't group it into one thing because it's fundamentally influenced by a lot of things. It's influenced by your environment, it's influenced by your mindset, it's influenced by your emotional intelligence. So I guess it is both an emotional capacity as well as a mental capacity. And both of those coexist within an individual. So if I am both a rational and an emotional human being, surely the strength that I carry to be able to be my best self should matter. That goes without saying, off the bat. And the reason why I say that is because that strength is the driving force behind your values, behind your vision, and behind you growing in life. Because naturally, everything that we try and achieve will be met with some resistance, either from the world or from our own limitations. And in order for you to have personal strength, or in order for you to break through and be resilient, you need to have personal strength. And I think personally, it's on that basis that I say it matters.
Do you have personal strength?
I do. And why I say I do it because to be an entrepreneur means you have to fight a new war every day. And to be able to fight in a war and survive multiple times, it means you have to be a warrior. And to be a warrior means you go through multiple series of training to survive the challenges that you'll be facing day by day. So the fact that I'm here 5 years later since joining this path of entrepreneurship, and I'm still fighting, I'm still alive, I would say it's personal strength that got me here.
For the African entrepreneurs, to really understand that actually what you're talking about makes sense, do you have a situation where you have been able to revelate your personal strength and put it to play and be able to overcome it with your personal strength?
Yeah. So like I mentioned, it's 5 years in the game. I've attempted to build at least 4 companies. The one I'm building now is probably the 4th or the 5th. I keep saying probably 3rd or 4th or 4th or 5th because some companies would start as A, and by the time they fail, they will be B. So for instance, what I'm building now is to do with Afrocentric data sets for artificial intelligence. And the product is a data set marketplace for Africa where the world can come and access clean data sets for their machine learning training. But I didn't start there. My first project, I was trying to mitigate the free trade of stolen devices in Zimbabwe with a vision of covering Africa at some point. And to mitigate this free trade, I was looking to use artificial intelligence. So I faced two challenges there. The first one being I realized the harsh truth that people actually want to buy stolen phones. So they didn't want to adopt my solution. And the second one being to use AI to fight that crime, I needed to get the data about the crime that was happening in Africa, and I couldn't get that data. So that project took off well in terms of publicity, and young innovator does ABC, it hits really well. But 18 or 24 months into the journey, in between there, that's when the reality hit and it crashed. But when it crashed, it's the project that crashed. The founder crashed with it, but he didn't die with it. I managed to pivot to understand, okay, so what did I get wrong this first time? What didn't I see coming? What did I learn from it? So that's when I learned the importance of data. If you're going to be talking of any intelligence system anywhere in the world, before you can build the algorithm, before you can find the compute resources, what you need is the data. So it's a lesson that came from that I'm now here and doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, thank you, Justice. When I really listened to your conversation, or from your sharing, you alluding to strength as if it's more of a skill, knowledge, and practice.
Yeah.
The design. Does this resonate to the actual meaning of strength? And if that's the case, how do you define personal strength, and how can I or an entrepreneur be able to develop this personal strength?
Okay, so you said it's a skill, knowledge, and practice.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what strength is. I mean, you've clearly sort of earmarked it in terms of its various facets, because you don't have to be able to go through certain things in order for you to be able to know what to do in certain circumstances. So that's where knowledge transfer comes in, and that's a skill, to be able to absorb the ways of the working world and to be able to say, through Frank's lessons, I'm able to learn and cultivate myself in such a way that I will risk mitigate. That's a strength. We don't look at strength as a resilient tool, and I think this is the mistake that a lot of people make. They look at strength in terms of me weathering the force. Strength lies, that's why I said it's also a mental thing. Strength lies in your ability to observe and to practice. And that's a good thing. And then you meant practice, and you also touched on it being a skill. And I think that's where I think a lot of people tend to lean on. Me having certain strengths, especially in my business, and being able to apply them. And I think we can then speak about strength extensively as a skill, because it's something that you acquire over time and you adopt. I mean, there's a lot of lessons that I'm sure Justice has learned in his first, second, third, maybe fourth and fifth business that he does not need to learn now, because over time he's accumulated and he's evolved as a person. And so he's been able to be sharpened by these businesses, even the ability to pivot. That was a common buzzword during COVID, because a lot of entrepreneurs found themselves in those situations, and that became a strength. People being able to spin out of certain deadlocks, especially in the ambit of entrepreneurship. So I want to tend to lean on those three facets that you've ironed out as being strengths and as being the definition on its own. Strength is the ability to learn, and that's the knowledge aspect, to apply, and that's practice, theories and practical methods for your own development. And it's where all of those three things lie. It's both the theoretical and practical elements values that you have as a person that allow you to be driven forward.
Let's look at the situation where I'm an entrepreneur. I'm just starting my business. I do not have anything I can call a skill, but I have the passion. How do I start from not being from your communication? It seems that the practice has to be there, but this hasn't happened. But I'm just starting a business. How can I privilege the strength I have? And also, how can I develop it?
I think firstly you need to be able to dissect this thing into two. One being entrepreneurship, and the other being an entrepreneur. So there's the business and the journey that you go through, which is called entrepreneurship. And that is the vehicle through which you shall call yourself an entrepreneur, the person. And when you're able to clearly distinguish between the two, you will understand that there are certain things that will happen in this journey through this vehicle that have nothing to do with my strengths. You know, it will find itself in areas and terrain that will test it as a model and will require me as a person to be capacitated for that. So I think it's being able to absorb as much knowledge as possible through books, through podcasts, through knowledge, through AI, through other means. Because if you just have the passion and the zeal to do something, surely learning, because your skill won't just be for your own information. It'll be for this very vehicle that you are using to call yourself an entrepreneur, to interact with society as a means of commercial viability. So you need to be able to open yourself up as a person, be able to understand the nuances that come with these two things, be able to understand that you as a person are not complete at all. And there may be certain things about you. For instance, in my business, I know there are certain things about me that I'm not competent in. That's why a company has a marketing department. That's why a company has a finance department. That's why a company has a CEO. You know, unfortunately, when you're a one-man team, you become all of those things, which means you have to capacitate yourself expansively as much as humanly possible. And unfortunately, some of the things that we have to be conscious and cautious of is the fact that we need to be able to create a base for ourselves that allows us to thrive. And the only way we can create an enabling environment for our businesses to thrive is if we constantly capacitate ourselves through various information, through knowledge, through sharing, through learning, both in the academic formal aspect of learning and in the non-formal ways of learning.